calls to get the ball rolling again on the Hunter Park project at Broadmeadow. It's currently on hold after a government probe was launched into the decision-making process during Tim Crackenthorpe's time as a minister.
Billed as the jewel in the crown for sport, entertainment and housing in Newcastle, Hunter Park has effectively been put on the back burner since questions were raised about former Minister Tim Crackenthorpe's family property holdings last week.
It was disappointing to hear that again there is a bit of a barrier or a blockage to this really regionally significant project proceeding.
An audit of decisions surrounding local projects was ordered, including the Broadmeadow precinct, which is close to a property owned by Mr Crackenthorpe's wife. Now the Committee for the Hunter is calling for private and public land within the project's footprint to be split up to get the ball rolling again.
We're asking if there is a possibility to decouple this really important project and get on with some first stage developments on Hunter Park on already appropriately zoned, consolidated, government-owned land.
A spokesperson for Minister for the Hunter, Yasmin Catley, today told NBN News the outcome of the audit will soon be revealed, allowing the Minns government to have confidence going forward.
It is about providing land and development that supports all the new jobs and the diversification of our economy that we so desperately need. We really need to maintain the momentum that we've achieved to date.
Sarah Giuliano, NBN News.
The Brigg-O-Johnston Bridge has reopened to traffic after it was closed due to damage caused by an oversized truck on July 12. The closure effectively cut Clarence Town in half, forcing locals to take 30-minute detours. The completed repairs include new bridge supports, bollards and other safety features.
25,000 motorists will enjoy a slightly smoother daily commute with an upgraded section of Nelson Bay Road now open. A 1 kilometre stretch between Saltash and Bob's Farm has been duplicated with wider lanes, shoulders and a median barrier added.
The project's been delivered 5 months ahead of schedule, which means as we go into Port Stephens peak season, this is really good news, safer, smoother travel for our locals and our visitors.
Transport for New South Wales says the next upgrade between Williamtown and Bob's Farm is in the design phase.
It's a growing area, home to nearly 6,000 people, and now Port Stephens Council has unveiled its vision for rural communities west of Raymond Terrace. A draft hinterland place plan covering suburbs such as Hinton and Seaham is up for public comment following a review of planning controls. Among the priorities, diversifying the economy, supporting agri-tourism and preserving the 3 river systems in the area. Some medical researchers in the Hunter are working to stop respiratory illnesses before they begin. They're developing a nose spray that uses a protein many of us drink on a daily basis.
COVID-19, influenza and the common cold, an unwanted trio that's been doing the rounds all winter and the sort of illnesses Newcastle researchers are trying to help prevent.
We want something which is safe, which I guess is natural, that you could take before you became ill.
Professor Nathan Bartlett at the Hunter Medical Research Institute is working on the development of a nasal spray using the milk protein lactoferrin.
We've been working with it now for a couple of years. We've done some preliminary experiments and it's clear that it's active.
Scientists say lactoferrin works by binding to and deactivating viruses and bolsters the immune system by stopping those viruses from invading cells. Professor Bartlett was approached by nutrition products company Numi during the peak of the pandemic about the possibility of turning the protein into a nasal spray.
And this company wondered, well, we make lots of lactoferrin. We're really good at pulling it out of cow's milk. I wonder if we could use that as a treatment for respiratory viruses like COVID. So they approached me to ask if this was a possibility, and I thought, yes, why not?
While there's plenty of products already on our shelves that target the symptoms and severity of respiratory illnesses, Professor Bartlett says the development of this lactoferrin nasal spray is aimed at prevention. Development of the spray has now passed its first phase, with HMRI now seeking funding for testing to see how effective it is.
The more money we get in, the faster we can get products out into people who need them.
Isabella Evans, NBN News.
The University of Newcastle has launched a new one-year course aimed at tackling staff shortages in secondary schools. The Australian First Graduate Diploma in Teaching fast-track subjects usually offered over a 2-year master's program. It means people who already hold a suitable bachelor's degree can provisionally work in a classroom after completing the new course.
There's 2,100 jobs in New South Wales and high schools vacant today. It's going to be 4,100 in the next 3 years. Undergraduate enrollments in initial teacher ed are way down all around the sector. And this is a solution-minded approach to try to turn that around.
The university says the remainder of the subjects to become a fully qualified teacher can be completed on the job.
There was some real girl power at Cameron Park today, with 20 teenagers participating in Girls on Fire, a program designed to inspire the next generation of emergency service workers. The Lake Macquarie students joined local volunteers, learning skills ranging from firefighting to search and rescue.
Through those connections, the students learn about jobs and career pathways that through within that
during the day.
The Sydney hospitality duo behind the Burleigh Pavilion and Manly Wharf Bar have purchased a popular Terrigal venue. The Reef Restaurant and Cove Cafe will soon receive a major makeover in a bid to boost business.
It's an iconic Terrigal location, and soon the haven could be bustling even more, with the Terrigal Pavilion set to transform the end of the boardwalk. Sydney business partners Ben May and Rob Domjan recently snapping up the Reef Restaurant and Cove Cafe site.
Just a fun environment that you can come off the beach dripping in a towel and read the newspaper in the morning, or come for grandma's birthday or a girls' long lunch in the afternoon into the evening.
It's set to mirror a similar feel as previous restaurants Domjan has opened.
More Burleigh Pavilion style look and feel. It's right on the beach there with the wave out the front. Quite similar, to this building in a sense, north facing, looking up the coast.
Central Coast developer Tim Gunnar-Singh is also welcoming the announcement.
Great operators have got names for themselves. They'll spread, because of their background, the word will spread and people will come to the Central Coast and come to Terrigal.
Back on Terrigal's main thoroughfare, his restaurant, Coco 88, is set to open tonight.
Coco 88 is a Asian fusion restaurant bar. It's designed about taking the best out of Southeast Asia and putting it all into one.
And locals are keen on the idea too.
I think it'd be lovely. It would correspond with the walkway.
It's exciting. There's a new venue coming. I'm excited to see what it's like. Maybe get some live music in there, that sort of stuff. It'd be cool.
While the owners of Terrigal Pavilion say they will listen to community feedback when constructing the design.
We are seeing the comments and we're listening to the locals, and that's part of this first stage.
On November 1, the new owners will get the keys and begin a minor renovation before opening in time for the December school holidays. Terrigal Pavilion is set to open in late 2024. Josephine Shannon, NBN News.
After 40 years at their Arimba farm, Eagles Green Supplies have taken out a prestigious award. The owners say a commitment to high-quality produce, helping them beat hundreds of other growers across the state.
It's been a labour of love for nearly 4 decades. Eagles Green Supplies uniquely growing just foliage on their Arimba farm.
Every arrangement, every piece has a piece of greenery in it. It's now become very much an artwork, it's styling. Event work is huge with the foliage because they last really well.
The business recently named Flower Grower of the Year above hundreds of other producers for the very first time.
After 40 years, we've done it, Rick!
I'm still in shock, to be honest with you. Very, very surreal feeling about that we actually won the award, because we've always been nominated, but to get to that pristine achievement of just the pinnacle of our career, to be honest.
Kathy Eagle, a third-generation grower, started at just 15 years old with her father before her and Rick took over their own business and acreage.
We started off originally with only 6 different items, and now we've probably got over 800 different varieties.
They've been selling at Sydney's bustling flower markets 3 nights a week for more than 40 years.
Our poor kids used to come to market, and because we started in the middle of the night, so we get them up at 10 o'clock at night, go down in the truck, and they'd just sleep in boxes in the cupboard. So we could work all night, and then they'd wake up in the morning and there'd be people everywhere.
Kathy's now running the business solo as Rick takes a step back.
Things go rather well without me. Probably better without me. I think that's why we might have won the award, because I'm not there and they like a smiley, friendly face.
Montana Claire, NBN News.
We're being urged to learn the signs of stroke this Stroke Awareness Week, with one person suffering from the medical condition every 19 minutes in Australia. Neurologists are encouraging more locals to do their bit in helping provide life-saving treatment. Signs include someone who has a facial weakness, issues moving one or both of their arms, or slurred speech. More information can be found on the Stroke Foundation website.
The University of Newcastle has launched a new one-year course aimed at tackling staff shortages in secondary schools. The Australian first graduate diploma in teaching fast-track subjects, usually offered over a 2-year master's program. It means people who already hold a suitable bachelor's degree can provisionally work in a classroom after completing the new course.
There's 2,100 jobs in New South Wales and high schools vacant today. It's going to be 4,100 in the next 3 years. Undergraduate enrollments in initial teacher ed are way down all around the sector, and this is a solution-minded approach to try to turn that around.
The university says the remainder of subjects to become a fully qualified teacher can be completed on the job.
It's a growing area, home to nearly 6,000 people, and now Port Stephens Council has unveiled its vision for rural communities west of Raymond Terrace. A draft Hinterland Place plan covering suburbs such as Hinton and Seaham is up for public comment following a review of planning controls. Among the priorities, diversifying the economy, supporting agri-tourism and preserving the 3 river systems in the area. Well, there was some real girl power at Cameron Park today with 20 teenagers participating in Girls on Fire, a program designed to inspire the next generation of emergency services workers. The Lake Macquarie students joined local volunteers, learning skills ranging from firefighting to search and rescue.
Through those connections, the students learn about jobs and career pathways that through within that industry.
Everyone's been doing really well. They've learnt very quickly, and so have we, and it's just been a really fun day.
Let's hope the program will encourage more young women to consider volunteering.
Very warm, very dry, and somewhat windy today. Temperatures towards the
Tamworth Regional Council has been forced to allocate funds to repair Dungowan Dam after plans to build a new one failed to get funding. Mayor Russell Webb said the decision was unavoidable, but council will call on both levels of government to chip in.
An unfortunate spend, but one that Tamworth Regional Council says is necessary. $825,000 allocated at last night's council meeting for 3 key projects at Dungowan Dam.
That is a lot of money. We don't want to have to spend that money, but we do need to spend that money in fairness to the community.
A dam safety report recommended the debris boom be replaced and a power supply battery backup installed. Maintenance to the dam gate will also be carried out. A welcome relief for residents in the Dungowan Valley, who woke to a 2 a.m. white alert about the dam wall during floods last November. Tamworth regional ratepayers now forced to stump up repair costs after the state and federal governments walked away from a plan to build a new $1.3 billion dam in May.
There is an element of disappointment. They're not getting the new dam. It was going to take away all the risk associated with that dam wall.
But while the federal government has ruled out a new dam, Mayor Russell Webb says they'll need to come to the table to help fund future major works.
I can guarantee you that if we have to do any major works on the dam wall, we will be going cap in hand to the federal government.
Council will also write to the state and federal water ministers, detailing the new dam repair costs and requesting financial assistance. And with unfavourable conditions expected this summer, there's still quiet confidence on Macquarie Street the region's water security won't be in jeopardy.
The $42 million pipeline that was built as part of the Chaffey Dam to Tamworth in the middle of the drought to ensure that we had water security back then.
Rob Douglas, NBN News.
It's been a staple of the Tamworth Country Music Festival close to half a century, and now the traditional cavalcade parade is back. The street parade will be held next January for the first time since 2020.
The magic of the parade, I think, is a combination of the artists being able to be seen by the community, and that certainly will happen in this parade, and obviously it allows community organisations to be showcased as they participate.
There will be some minor changes. Only small cars and utes will be able to take part, with the route also reduced to 1.2 kilometres.
The sky's the limit for members of the Lake Keep It Soaring Club, with much-needed upgrades finally complete. The new technology and facilities will make gliding more accessible for women and people with a disability.
It's one of the largest soaring clubs in the nation, with more than 160 members and thousands of visitors flying by each year. Now the Lake Keep It gliding facility is accessible for even more people.
Well done. The project really does materially contribute to the continuing success of this club. This adds a whole new dimension to what we're able to do.
The new upgrade's an overdue addition for women. Female amenities already proving beneficial.
I'm not going to go behind a bush, so I'd have to drive down to where the accommodation is. It's just made such a difference. It's made a difference to my life here.
But it's the high-tech additions and new paths that will make the club stand out from others in Australia, allowing people with physical disabilities to soar rather than staying on the ground using a simulator.
We actually had a young man who was paraplegic, but we could never take him for a flight in a glider. Now with these facilities, we'll be able to take him for a flight in a glider.
The new lifting equipment allows people with physical disabilities to be lowered into the glider and lifted out at the end of the flight. The project cost nearly $580,000, funded with a state government grant.
They had the World Women's not so long ago. The spotlight was well and truly on our area. So it's these organisations that we need to continue to help.
But the member for Tamworth says he's worried other local projects are at risk of being axed ahead of the state's budget.
We've seen a lot of the programs that have been put on hold, like the Regional Activation Fund, Stronger Country Communities, Resources for Regions.
A spokesperson for the Department of Regional New South Wales says it's currently reviewing funding programs and projects. Georgia Vaughan, NBN News.
Tamworth councillors have locked in a location and funding plan for a new aquatic centre. The future facility will be built opposite the city's sports dome at an estimated cost of $45 million. The state government committed $15 million earlier this year, but other funding sources remain uncertain.
We're very hopeful the federal government will get behind the project with that growing regional program. And of course, the announcement for those fundings won't come out until early 24.
Council is now calling for tenders to begin designs.
Upgrades to Tamworth's Nyoka Palliative Care Unit will forge ahead, with the redevelopment included in Labor's $93 million funding pool. Beds will be doubled in the new facility, with the latest equipment promised.
The palliative care staff, the nurses and doctors do a magnificent job, but to have a standalone facility is something that the Friends of Nyoka have been calling for.
The community will be consulted before construction begins in 2024.
Kingswood residents have voiced their opposition over a proposed rock quarry along Spain's Lane. More than 30 locals gathered in protest at council last night.
We don't want a quarry. No one wants a quarry, and I've got heaps of paper and signatures to say that.
The community is presented with the choice to have a quarry or more residential. We'd really be happy with more residential, and we didn't realise that there was that option.
Tamworth Regional Council says it has not received a development application.
2022 Australian of the Year Dylan Alcott has been announced as a key speaker at next month's Countersyn Festival in Newcastle.
Our community has told us, and our committee members have told us, that employment of people with disability is a really important issue. And there are still so many barriers for people with disability to obtain and keep employment.
It runs at 4 to 20. Health authorities are encouraging parents to get their kids vaccinated following a spike in flu cases on the North Coast. In the first week of July, New South Wales Health recorded a 37% increase in children presenting to emergency departments with the flu. Healthy North Coast CEO Monica Wheeler is urging anyone with symptoms to stay home to stop the spread.
Despite going into voluntary administration, Dolphin Marine Conservation Park is continuing to rescue animals. Its latest patient is a fur seal saved near Yeronga with the help of National Parks and Orca.
This is Noah, an 18-month-old fur seal, brought into Dolphin Marine Conservation Park's care late yesterday after she was found on the rocks at Winona Headland.
We assessed her. She was hauled out on the rocks, pretty lethargic, also had her right eye closed. So we did know that there was an eye injury.
After receiving extensive care, she'll need to be at the park for at least another month to ensure there's no further issues.
We've also had a veterinary advice on the eye, but we're waiting further advice for that one.
Meanwhile, another sea lion, Felix, is due to be released soon.
It just goes on. I mean, the animals don't wait while we come out of administration.
The park is 3 weeks into the administration process, its future still up in the air.
There is the opportunity to run it for another 4 weeks, and then further if it's by court order. So I'm going down to Melbourne to meet with the administrators next week, so we'll see how we go from there.
But fundraising efforts and community pledges continue.
Run by DMCP Operations Limited, which is a charity that we've set up to try and save the park, essentially. So it will sit in the charity. It's not going into shareholders' pockets. It's purely going off to keep the park going.
While its doors remain open, university interns Rin and Lucy will continue their studies, remaining so optimistic, even hoping to complete postgraduate research at the park.
I'm an international student coming all the way from Japan. I've chosen this place because it's such a really, really amazing environment to be able to learn and have that hands-on experience. Every day is just, you learn new stuff every 5 minutes pretty much. So it's just been incredible. Like, we wouldn't have been able to get this kind of knowledge anywhere else.
Britt Ramsey, NBN News.
An oyster growing site at Long Island near Tuncurry has been cleaned up by the state government. A total of 60 tonnes of waste was taken away as part of the project. It's hoped the site could be reused for oyster production after Crown Lands undertakes further testing.
The future of the new adventure park proposed by Kempsey Shire Council remains unclear. Council says it's launched an independent review into the feasibility of the project after failing to secure additional funds. The review will determine if the $11 million project will go ahead. A smaller facility proposed for the area would exclude a rock climbing wall and cafe.
The Great Lakes Cinema will remain closed for construction for the next month. A revamp will include a new candy bar, new carpet and mixed seating options, including recliner chairs. It's expected to reopen by early September.
Port Macquarie's Glass House Regional Gallery can finally welcome visitors again, 6 months after a freak weather event destroyed the exhibition space. 2 displays showcasing talent from around the state are now on show for art lovers.
A much-loved asset on Port Macquarie's art scene, inundated with water. When a freak storm ripped through the city on February 3, significant damage caused to the Glasshouse Regional Gallery.
Oh, it looks like a tornado.
The wild weather impacted thousands of homes and businesses and resulted in a mammoth cleanup.
It was pretty intense time. I think there's still houses and things that don't have roofs, still even now.
At the gallery, hail and ice flooded the box gutter and caused the roof to collapse. SES called to 60 incidents in the space of 30 minutes. It's an afternoon curator Bridget Pertle will never forget.
Yeah, I don't like to think about it actually. And when the water was coming in at the time, we've had a show that was full of paper. It was all printmaking.
6 months on and the gallery has finally reopened to the public, kicking off with 2 exhibitions. Art Express returning to showcase New South Wales' best Year 12 art students, and an upstairs exhibition dedicated to local talent.
It was an emotional opening, to be honest, so we're just excited to be here and back on schedule.
Both exhibitions are free of charge and running for the next month.
The University of Newcastle has launched a new 1-year course aimed at tackling staff shortages in secondary schools. The Australian First Graduate Diploma in Teaching fast-tracks subjects usually offered over a 2-year master's program. It means people who already hold a suitable bachelor's degree can provisionally work in a classroom after completing the new course. The university says the remainder of subjects to become a fully qualified teacher can be completed on the job.
A Luck of the Irish themed race day will get underway at the Tuncurry Foster Jockey Club tomorrow. There'll be 2 Irish bands and prizes for best dressed in green. The race meet is in place of the one at Port Macquarie's track, which is currently undergoing repairs. It will include a run from the Terry Evans Racing Stables, Sir Ravenelli.
The horse that won the country championships qualified tomorrow. Sir Ravenel is doing an exhibition gallop and getting ready for, and I spoke to Terry Evans for hopefully the Kosciuszko.
The gates open at 11:30.
There was a surprise for Port Macquarie residents today spotting this incredible southern right whale. The mother and her calf were seen near the southern breakwall, swimming up to onlookers around 7:30 this morning. But it wasn't the only splash, with video also emerging of the whale swimming next to the dolphins. The man accused of a violent home invasion at Varsity Lakes has been transported to hospital for an immediate health assessment. Troy Andrew Burns had his case mentioned in court again today, accused of stabbing a 15-year-old boy in the early hours of Tuesday morning. His defence lawyer saying his physical and mental health are of concern. His matter will be heard again tomorrow.
Lismore City Council is set to put forward plans to develop flood-resistant land in Gunnellabar. It's hoping to build a storage facility on the block as a way to protect valuable cultural works in the event of an emergency.
A potential safe haven for some of the region's most valuable treasures.
To have something that we can bring our assets to is a real positive.
This vacant block of land on Lancaster Drive in Gunnellabar was first acquired by Richmond Tweed Regional Library 20 years ago.
And it was bought deliberately so that down the track a subdivision could occur and that vacant block of land, which was excess to requirements, could be sold.
But now the space is back on the table and Lismore City Council has thrown their hat in the ring.
Council came up with the proposal of maybe Lismore City Council buying that block and maybe utilising it for a flood-free storage area,
with the intention to house valuable collections from the Art Gallery, Library and Richmond River Historical Society Museum.
We like our assets down in the CBD, things like our gallery and our historical society and our library and those sorts of things. They have a lot of valuable stuff down there.
And help safeguard the works if disaster strikes again.
If the council has identified some land that can be used to safeguard some of our cultural treasures, then I think that's a good thing.
We're hoping to get all those buildings up and running and operational as soon as possible.
And there's potential opportunities further down the track for a multi-purpose space.
It'd be a community facility, it could be open for business use, it could be open for the community. There's a lot of options that could go into such a facility down the track when it comes to design.
For the future generation, so that they can get back and look at the history of Lismore. I think it's a very good idea, yeah.
The Richmond Tweed Regional Library will meet with Council next Wednesday.
So it's going to be up to those councillors that represent each of their LGAs to determine whether or not they will just sell it directly to the Lismore City Council or whether they want to put it to the open market.
Alexandra Rees, NBN News.
Health authorities are encouraging parents to get their kids vaccinated following a spike in flu cases on the North Coast. In the first week of July, New South Wales Health recorded a 37% increase in children presenting to emergency departments with the flu. Healthy North Coast CEO Monica Wheeler is urging anyone with symptoms to stay home and stop the spread.
Motorists travelling through Lismore's Bangalow Road are being urged to plan ahead due to essential maintenance on Boat Harbour Bridge next week. Vegetation will be removed, existing guardrails will be replaced, and scour rock erosion protection will also be installed. Work is expected to take 4 weeks.
A not-for-profit community group is calling for more volunteers to help with flood repairs in the Northern Rivers. Resilient Lismore says numbers have dropped significantly, making it difficult for locals to get back on their feet.
A community hit hard by the worst floods in Australian history.
It was tragic.
But in a time of crisis, volunteers provided hope.
When I saw the devastation, I just felt like I needed to do something.
It was volunteers of Lismore and the surrounds that actually saved us from drowning in that flood.
18 months on, volunteer numbers have dropped. Resilient Lismore is calling for more helping hands, encouraging people to apply online.
We've had about 1,400 volunteers come through. At the moment we have a volunteer base of about 20 people.
Volunteers help with a range of tasks, from moving items to electrical work, plumbing and wall repairs.
They've just done everything.
Melody Mangiano says the not-for-profit initiative changed her life.
I'm at the stage of actually taking a buyback and moving, and so I'm going to get my last bit of help with resilience.
Those on a working holiday visa are also being encouraged to extend their stay by helping the community.
For people who are looking for 88-day visas, can apply to volunteer through Resilient Lismore.
With more than 300 projects now complete, Resilient Lismore is currently working on another 160. But a shortage of workers is causing a delay on some projects.
The town's still got a long way to go, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight, so I think I'll be here for a little while yet.
Andrew Dew, NBN News.
18 months after the Lismore floods, the Australian Red Cross has officially reopened its doors.
It's always been known as a place where people can go that they feel really comfortable for refreshment.
The Red Cross is calling for more volunteers so it can remain open 5 days a week.
Australia's richest person, Gina Rinehart, has thrown her support behind the Gold Coast bid to save the 2026 Commonwealth Games. But she isn't willing to bankroll the project herself, a spokesperson saying she would certainly welcome a repeat of the 2018 Games. She's yet to speak with Mayor Tom Tate, who remains adamant our city is ready to host.
When she speak, you know, all party of politics does listen.
The Mayor says he expects federal opposition.